One by one, teams have fallen while others have moved on. But we've got one last week of round one action to recap, as what a round one it was. NHL history was made more than once this week, as we also saw some huge hits. The Leafs apparently moved to Winnipeg. I mean, fans were burning their jerseys just days ago, so I don't know. We saw some ridiculous goals scored, incredible saves made, while others not so much.
You got a little horny on the poke check?
We got a new Spectre special.
You asked me the same question last year, I feel like, but
and some very tense moments. Coaches even going at it. A controversial start to the second round, and with the end of the road for 8 teams, the end of some great careers. There's plenty to cover, but first, are you looking to get a taste of the chaos yourself? Then let me introduce you to SeatGeek, because with the NHL playoffs in full swing, it makes right now the perfect time to get out of the house to catch a live game. And that is exactly why I want to give the sponsor of today's video, SeatGeek, a huge shout out. There are more than 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, which includes everything from concerts to festivals and, of course, sports. So, whether you're looking for tickets to an MLB game, the NBA playoffs, or the NHL playoffs, well, SeatGeek's got you covered. This right here was Game 2, Blues Jets. There's nothing quite like it. And you know I came through for you guys. You can use code NEXTMANUP10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code NEXTMANUP10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you, SeatGeek. With that, let's get to the nasty. And what better way than with the most physical series of the first round? Blues Jets saw a combined 623 hits as these teams beat the daylights out of each other, and this week, Game 5 especially was a feisty one with some massive hits. Mark Scheifele on the receiving end of one from Schenn, and then another from Foxa shortly after, as he hasn't played since. But Dr. Montgomery is on the case.
55 got hurt from the Faxa hit. He played 6 minutes after the Schenn hit.
well, I didn't know Monty got his medical degree. He's way off base.
Now, Game 6 wasn't much friendlier. Walker with a spear here, but let's check in with the doc again. Nope, that was a dive. And in this one, even brotherly love was tested. The Schenn brothers out there chirping at each other. Over in Colorado, we saw Dallas's Bischel lose an edge and go hard into the boards. A terrible position to be in, as he was down on the ice, and these are scary to see. You never like seeing a guy down like that, but somehow he came back later in the game, so that's great. But on the topic, with the conclusion of the Panthers lightning round, this week we found out that Hedman had been playing with a broken leg. I mean, hockey players. Then the Battle of Ontario didn't go down without a fight. This came after Nyes shot the puck after the whistle. Pinto, upset, was sat down instead. Then Greg with a terrible penalty on Marner. And here it was Morgan Riley with a nasty one on Shabbat. That's a major. And speaking of the officiating, here was a high stick, a cross check, and a spear. The trifecta of non-calls. Meanwhile, take an elbow to the face. Oh, and you're bleeding? Embellishment. But then there's this, a phantom cross-check. Do you see it? Because this was called. Speaking of the first game of the second round, Leafs-Cats set the tone for what looks to be another physical one. This one saw Kucherov absolutely flattening Hellebuyck, McCabe then returning the favor on Kucherov, bit of a reverse hit, but then check this out at the end of the game. Matthew Tkachuk taking a little run at Marner. Jeez, but undoubtedly, the thing everyone's talking about is Anthony Stolarz. After taking a drive-by elbow from Sam Bennett to the head, he went down and immediately grabbed his head. He was then seen throwing up at the bench during the TV break 10 minutes later before he was taken out of the game and Joseph Woll came in. Even crazier though, he was taken to the hospital on a stretcher. So, the conversation is around Sam Bennett. He took out Nyes with a concussion 2 years ago and of course had that little sneaky punch to Marchand that took him out last playoffs. So, yeah.
Elbow to the head. Yeah. Clear as day.
There were far more egregious collisions in that game last night, but we won't be talking about those.
Truthfully, this doesn't look like a whole lot, but the issue is obviously the history. Having said that, the more likely cause was him taking a shot to the mask from Reinhart earlier in the period that knocked his helmet off, where we saw the little head shake, but either way, obviously hope that he's going to be alright. No hearing for Bennett though, by the way. But enough of this. Let's get through some quick ones. Look at how Foxville looks at the camera. Are they about to catch this? Alright, just do it. What the hell? What is this? Speaking of the Blues, in practice, Monty took a shot off the face this week.
I heard it hit the crossbar. I went like this and came right off the crossbar.
And then, if this is Chad Smith, where is Will... Wait. Huh. All right, this week we essentially found out that the Utah No-Names have a name, temporarily changing their YouTube name to the Mammoth, so that's kind of exciting. But if that's how that works, does that mean that the Leafs really are moving to Winnipeg? We also found out that Ovi has no bigger rivalry than the one he has with his ties. Over in Edmonton, we got another classic Spectre special.
Does it all seem a little surreal sometimes?
You asked me the same question last year, I feel like.
And so let's take a look. This was last year's playoffs.
Did you ever think that you maybe never would get a playoff game in the NHL? Did it, did it live up to your expectations?
Heading overseas in the Finnish Liga finals, Game 4, the power went out as the crowd turned their phones on. I don't know, I just thought this was kind of cool. But lastly, Islanders thought this was pretty cool. Winning the lottery draft this week, they moved from 10 to 1st. How about it? But from there, I figured, how about we do a speed run of each series ending? So despite Jacob Markstrom putting together a great game with 48 saves on 53 shots, including overtime, he gave him a chance, but a double minor from Mercer on Kokoniemi did him in as Aho and the Canes would take advantage and knocked out the Devils in 5 games. Talk about taking one for the team, as Markstrom had to restrain himself from stabbing his own teammates. Then a turbulent Battle of Florida that had its fair share of bad blood came to an end in Tampa as Nikita Kucherov, not a good series. In his 3 Art Ross seasons, he has scored 0 goals in the playoffs. And so, throwing strays, Matthew Tkachuk doesn't even call it a rivalry. Oof. Then the third team to move on were the Washington Capitals, as Tom Wilson was their kryptonite in many ways, taking down the Canadiens in 5. However, I gotta say, Montreal's got something cooking there, so be proud. Over in Ottawa, despite going down 3-0, they made things interesting, had this Leafs fan burning his jersey as they were anything but composed. Their fans leaving early, booing them in Game 5, with Tkachuk loving every second of it, and here is real locker room footage after the game.
We can't have anyone freak out there, okay? We've got to keep our composure.
And then, to start Game 6, they submitted the incorrect starting lineup. They mixed up the Nylander brothers as Willie Nyes was nearly ineligible. It must have been Biz's lucky shirt, as the officials noticed it in time, and while early it was looking like the same old Leafs, the very guy they nearly didn't have for Game 6 was the man of the hour, as he and the Leafs took down the Sens in 6 to meet Florida in the second round. And then they remembered Marchand is there now. And quickly, if you're wondering who Sens Nation has... Moving on to the Vegas-Minnesota series, right when it looked like the Wild were taking a series lead home, this one was called offside, and instead going to overtime, the Knights would take the game and take the wind from their sails, Stone giving Cassidy a push, as the Wild gave him a good fight, but Stone, especially in Game 6, was great. Check out this pass just out of reach, as the Vegas Golden Knights would take him down in 6, and the Wild became the first team in any of the 4 major leagues to make the playoffs 8 or more times in 10 years and lose in the first round each time. Yikes. Headed back to LA, as soon as you saw the Harmonica ladies, you had to think this was going back to Edmonton, right? But the Harmonica magic wore off. They could only do so much, as for the 4th straight year, the Oilers take them down in the first round. And then there was the Game 7. Stars Avalanche had a wild Game 6 first, where Hintz and Rantanen combined for 8 points in the second period, the first time in NHL history two teammates scored 4 apiece in a period, but despite it, the Avs would come back to score 4 in a row, a couple of empty netters to force a Game 7. But, oh God, it's Pete DeBoer. The man was 8-0 in Game 7s, and in this one, while they went down 2 in the third, it was Mikko Rantanen again deciding they are not going home, putting up the first hat trick in the third period of a Game 7 ever. Also the first time in NHL history someone had back-to-back 4-point periods, all after being traded from the very team he sent home. A little violin action here as well. Maybe the greatest revenge game ever. Pete DeBoer, now 9-0 in Game 7s, by the way, holds the record for the most Game 7 wins by a head coach in the history of the league. Insane. And finally, Jets Blues, where St. Louis was abysmal for Hellebuyck. Game 6, they put up 4 on him, plus an empty netter. Well, not actually, but really, what's the difference? He got pulled 3 consecutive games on the road, a horrendous 16 goals let in those 3 games, and yet Game 7 was another story. Oh, you know what? Well, not really. He let in 2 pretty bad ones once again, but just when it looked like it was over, with under 2 to go, the Winnipeg Jets pulled off one of the greatest comebacks in history. Perfetti scoring the latest Game 7 tying goal ever as they pushed him to overtime about as late as it gets and then pulled it off in overtime. Their captain, Adam Lowry, credited for the winner, has listened to this pop. Maybe, just maybe, the monkey is off their back. Here's real footage of Neil Pionk afterwards, by the way, as the man played 46 minutes, 59 shifts, and assisted on 3 of Winnipeg's 4 goals, stepping up for Morrissey, who left the game early. And so, as the series are coming to an end, we're also seeing careers come to an end. Savard is hanging him up, retiring after 14 years, and Fleury, my guy, is as well. We saw him come in Game 5, actually, making his final appearance, which was pretty cool. 18th season doing so, taking the lead for the most all-time as the Vegas crowd even cheered him on, but losing in Game 6 after 21 seasons, this was his final moment in the NHL. It's honestly tough to see. However, he did announce he will be joining Team Canada at the World Championships.
I don't know, I went home, my kids went crazy. I was like, geez, I gotta keep playing again.
Reuniting with Sidney Crosby and McKinnon, who are also going, so that should be pretty cool. But with that, let's get to the goalies. Dobesh in Montreal had a phenomenal save on Tom Wilson, flashing the leather. Wow. Then in Tampa, it was Bobrovsky playing out of his mind, the right pad and then the glove hand, unreal, as Vasilevsky dueling on the other end got across to Rob Bennett. Speaking of goalie duels, we saw Hellebuyck in Game 5 with a beauty of a save, getting the paddle down for his best of the playoffs, no doubt, as it was a rematch between him and Benner, with Bennington at home robbing Connor with the pad. Kemper over in LA, Game 5 with highway robbery on Bouchard. He was easily the Kings' best player. And lastly, Blackwood with a nice stop to shut down Granlund with the pad. But as mentioned, we saw some nasty goals this week, so let's finish this baby off. My goal of the week has to go to Cole Perfetti, opening goal for the Jets in Game 7. It's a Crosby-esque beauty, just wow. But another pretty one though was Stone in Game 6. Out of mid-air, he bats this in for what was the game winner and the series winner. David Perron in Ottawa scored at the time a huge goal. Stolarz poke checking.
Those things, you got a little horny on the poke check, so you know, it's you live and you learn.
With Perron banking it off the nameplate. But then no goal was more ridiculous than this one. McKinnon sliding it to the net. Stars try to clear it and it goes off Blackwell for a snipe? Insane. And lastly, in Toronto last night, Matthew Knies continues to have a great playoffs, forehand to backhand for a pretty game winner. As that will about do it for this week. I appreciate you guys watching as always, and I will see you in the next one.